Hey, it's Rob Ryder, and it's June 23rd, 2020. I'd like to read this open letter to veterans about patriotic societies that I wrote. And I put a description, or I put a link in the description of this video that you could download a copy, maybe share with a vet. Um, and after I get done reading it, I'll go back and we'll explain where all these little pieces come from that I'm about to tell you about. But in a nutshell, there's a number of patriotic associations, societies that were created by the federal government, and they're all codified in Title 36 United States Code. And so these entities have been given federal charters, right? So they're federally recognized by the Congress, and the Congress has acknowledged that the Congress gave them certain powers. And these are powers that we could be using today to straighten out the shit that's wrong in America as veterans, because we can be members of these associations with these particular powers, such as uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. Right? That's the stated purpose. And they gave us the power to do it. But to do so, now here's the thing, to do so, they have to have their paperwork in order. And it isn't being done right. Right? They're not, these entities are not using their full legal name on any documents that they're submitting to fulfill their obligations under the charter. So as soon as they do, they can have the power. Until they do, they have no power. You get what I'm saying? All we need to do is do a 1, 2, 3, and so prepare them for inspection, because Uncle Sam needs empowered veterans now. So fellow veterans of the armed forces of the United States, by faith of a centurion, the veterans in our past sowed seeds of liberty to ensure we veterans of today and those who follow us could reap the harvest of their wisdom, bought and paid for by the sweat and blood of thousands upon thousands who have served. Our predecessors' sacrifices in the field and their subsequent humiliating ill treatment at home gained for them the wisdom that us veterans, honorable and faithful service to the United States, entitles us to be empowered by Congress to share in the civil authority of the government of the United States to execute as law recognized purposes such as uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. Veterans convinced the United States Congress to grant federal charters to patriotic associations of persons, societies, as a quasi-government entity and a share of the authority of the United States. I say as a peacemaker. That's what our job's supposed to be. These acts of Congress have been codified into Title 36 United States Code, which is patriotic and national observances, ceremonies, and organizations, wherein can be found the acts of Congress that created the American Legion, Disabled American Veterans, Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, Retired Enlisted Association Incorporated, the Reserve Officers Association of the United States, to name a few of the 90-plus associations. Most, but not all, are veteran-related associations. By these federal charters, wise veterans ensured Congress acknowledged certain powers deemed necessary for the association to carry out its purpose are bestowed on veteran associations, such as to sue or be sued, and to do any other act necessary and proper to carry out the purposes of the corporation, which are uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States, preserve and defend the United States, etc. They're all a little bit different, but my point is they have them. It's been agreed to. When properly construed, a Veterans Patriotic Association listed in Title 36 United States Code is an agent of the government of the United States, acknowledged by the Congress to have power and authority to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States by any other act necessary and proper to carry out the purpose of the corporation. And this authority is granted into perpetuity. So what went wrong? How did these invaluable people's agents of the government of the United States, endowed with authority, power, and duty to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States from enemies foreign and domestic, become no more than an old boys social club while 20 veterans a day commit suicide and Marxists, terrorists, and traitors rape, pillage, and plunder our nation. Well, simply put, these associations have failed to comply with the conditions imposed on them by Congress prior to exercising power and authority for the government of the United States. The three conditions imposed by Congress are: the corporation shall file with the Secretary of State or other designated official of each state the name and address of an agent in the state on whom legal process or demands against the corporation can be served, and in accordance with 112 Stat 128, which is Public Law 105-225 of August 12, 1998, at subsection 10101, audits shall be audited annually by generally accepted auditing standards and shall submit a report of the audit to the Congress no later than 6 months after the close of fiscal year for which this audit was made. Unfortunately, these federal chartered associations only simulate compliance. They do not identify the association by its legal name on the alleged yearly audit report sent to Congress, nor do they have a registered agent for the legal name filed as required by their charter. Right? It's simulation. It looks like it is, but it isn't done right. So in other words, administrative errors and omissions by the association's headquarters staff has disenfranchised all members of the use of the association's power and authority to defend the Constitution and the United States from enemies, foreign and domestic. Headquarters staff has replaced the law with their own defective customs. It's the way we always do it. That's what they tell you. That's just the way we do it. Well, that's called custom, and when custom, gets in the way of law, it's a problem. Until the powers that be demand the headquarters staff do it by the book, the association cannot defend squat. Once they comply with the jots and tittles of the law, they can end the ongoing rebellion by ordering the armed forces of the United States arrest traitors and public officer impostors, usurping the constitutional authority of legislators, and officers of the United States and several states. In other words, the people who we think are Congress and state legislatures and the governor and so forth, well, none of these people are. They're imposters. We're under attack, people. Article 6 of the Constitution of the United States requires that senators, representatives before mentioned, and the members of the several state legislatures, and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. All right? Well, the first law passed, which is 1 Stat 23, by the first Congress after the ratification of the Constitution, specifically mandated the oath that satisfies Article 6, who it applies to, and their responsibility for ensuring an official record of their compliance is filed prior to exercising the powers of office. This is not happening. This act of Congress, an act to regulate the time and manner of administering certain oaths, that'd be that 1 Stat 23, has not been executed by the classes of persons defined in Article 6. No person claiming to be a senator, representative, executive, or judicial officer of the United States or several states has executed this oath. Therefore, they're in violation of the Constitution. This same oath was codified in the United States Code as 4 U.S.C. 101, oath by members of legislatures and officers, requiring that all state legislatures and officers execute this oath prior to exercising any power of office. Yet no person claiming to be a governor, state attorney general, secretary of state, state legislator, justice, judge, commissioner, supervisor, school board member, or other officers created by state constitution are complying with this federal law. There are no qualified civil government representatives executive or judicial branch officers of the several states until these persons have recited and filed the oath in 4 U.S.C. 101. The nation and several states are in the control of traitors, impersonators, and foreign agents, not public officers. The truth is that the United States has been under military rule since President Lincoln declared martial law in 1861, and the United States will not have a civilian government under the Constitution until the martial law is rescinded in accordance with Article 2 of General Orders 100, the Lieber Code. According to Lieber Code, the United States is governed by general laws and customs of war that have recognized veterans federal corporations as the United States. 28 U.S.C. 3002, Section 15. Look at that in a second. And these corporations need to do any other act necessary and proper to carry out the purpose of the corporation, such as call on the armed forces of the United States to arrest the traitors and squash the rebellion. Right? To do any other act necessary or proper to carry out the purpose of the corporation. That's a pretty wide band of things that you can do. My point is, you'll be doing it as the United States. Right? These organizations will be doing it as the United States. They're recognized as the United States. So the armed forces of the United States are the armed forces of federal corporations of patriotic associations recognized as the United States by federal law. Our veteran forefathers and mothers created vehicles from which veterans can govern the United States with the aid of the armed forces of the United States. Veterans, we do not need permission, but we do need to follow the rules. Our oath does not have an end date, and whether a member of an association or not, we have a duty to God and country to do all we can to convince the national commanders of these associations to order their headquarters staff to comply with their charters ASAP. For a more detailed explanation, please visit my YouTube channel, which is Rob Ryder with 3 B's, and watch the video mentioned in the footer and download a copy of this letter from the link provided in the video description. If you are a member of one of these associations mentioned in Title 36, United States Code, please inform the rank and file members to demand accountability from the national commanders. Robert Allen Rutluski, Staff Sergeant, United States Army Veteran, DOD ID 12112800006. You can email me at courtofrecord@aol.com or call me at 616-712-6179. And hey, please visit Rob Ryder on YouTube. You're already there if you're listening to me say this. And in the description, I will have a link for this letter. And as long as I remember to do it. Okay, so that's the gist, right? Now, let's go fill all this in with the details. So give me just a second. Okay, so in most of these things I do, I got to take little bits and pieces from all these different documents. Right? It's never, none of this shit is ever written in one place, right? But there's an entity called the Congressional Research Service, which works for the Congress, and they make up all these pamphlets about this, that, and the other thing that they've been asked to do by Congress. And one of them is, there's hundreds of these, probably thousands, right? But one is the quasi-government, hybrid organizations with both government and private sector legal characteristics. Well, who could they be? Well, a congressionally chartered nonprofit organization. Within the quasi-government, a category, right? So within the quasi-government, a category of entities can collectively be identified as congressionally chartered nonprofit organizations. Also referred to popularly as Title 36 corporations. The chartering by Congress of private organizations with a patriotic, charitable, historical, or educational purpose is essentially a 20th century practice. There were nearly 100 organizations listed in Subtitle 2, Patriotic and National Organizations. Typical among these chartered organizations is the Agricultural Hall of Fame, Big Brothers and Sisters of America, and the American Legion, and a whole bunch more. But right, so any entity listed by Title 36 corporation is a quasi-government entity. Right, within the quasi-government, we're as much the government as anything else that's a quasi-government. When I say we, I mean these societies, right? Because they're societies of people. They don't really have, their territorial jurisdiction is wherever the United States is, right? But their in personam jurisdiction is just their members. So, okay, so in the United States Code, right, which is Title 28, the Judiciary and Judicial Procedures, particular proceedings, federal debt collection procedure, you got these definitions, and then 28 U.S.C. 3002 definitions. If we were to go look at 15, it says the United States means a federal corporation. Well, that would be the American Legion. Also an agency, department, commission, board, or other entity of the United States. Well, we just said a federal corporation is the United States, so this would be the board of the corporation is the United States, or an instrumentality of the United States. Well, all of these are considered United States. Well, guess what? We have United States Marshals, right? We have an armed forces of the United States, so it's the armed forces of a federal corporation, or it's a federal corporation's marshal. So our path to use the powers of these entities that unfortunately Trump can't use, and we'll get into that in a minute, because he's the president of the United States of America as Donald J. Trump, right? We need to be Donald John Trump. You want to be president of the United States, but Donald J. Trump is president of the United States of America, which is King George's jurisdiction. It's not the same as the United States. We need the United States. This is why I say that General Miley wasn't, he was really upset with what happened, because he's representing the United States, not United States of America. We can call him into action. That's what I believe. So what's a quasi-government? Supported by the government, but managed privately. Well, there you are, supported by the government. So we're the United States, and we're going to be supported by the government of the United States. Hang on just a second. And then just real quick, because there's over 90 of these entities, right? It's just not the American Legion or the VFW or the DAV, right? There's a bunch of them. So you don't even have to be in the military. I haven't had a chance to look at all these. My point is, all of these have a charter, right? We're just going to look at a couple charters to see what they say. But you could go look at any of these and see if there's one that fits for you, or maybe you're a member of one and say, hey, how come we're not using these powers? Right? Because, I don't know what kind of power that says the Agricultural Hall of Fame has, but I do know what type of power it says it gave to the American Legion. Right? There's the American Legion. American Ex-Prisoners of War. American GI Forum. The American Gold Star Mothers. American Historical Association. American War Mothers. American Vets. Army-Navy Union. Goes on and on and on. You got lots of veterans associations. The 82nd Airborne. All right, you guys don't need to wait for me. Just go do it yourselves. Don't wait on the American Legion. Get the Airborne involved. Gold Star Wives. General Federation of Women's Clubs. Korean War Veterans. Marine Corps League. Right, so there's no reason, my fellow veterans, that we're waiting on anybody. It's our fault. We got everything we need is right here. All right, we just need to get one of these things properly construed with the right authorities, and and then call General Miley. See what he has to say. Okay, so that's what they look like, right? There's all sorts of them, and like I said, we're just going to look at a couple and see what they look like. But now here's the problem where I said that they're not being properly registered, right? So if I go to in Michigan, right? So every state you can do this. You put in Michigan business lookup into Google. You'll find the website for the government of your state that you can go to find out what businesses have been registered. And I can go in there and I can find the American Legion, which is the full legal name, its proper name of this thing. Say, that's good. There they are. Right. Wow. They exist. But unfortunately, date of dissolved. It was dissolved 10/1/1981. It's not there anymore. All right, so I should be able to go down and look at these filings. But when I click on it, I get this thing here that says I can't match it because all that shit's too old. It's not been put in the computer. All right, so the American Legion has not been registered in Michigan the way it's supposed to be. It was at one time, but it isn't any longer. Well, that sounds like part of a scheme. I had another one to show you. I have another example like that. Where is that thing? Okay, for Oregon. I just did this for somebody the other day, right? I went to Oregon, looked up Corporation Division, business name search. Right? They have an entity called the American Legion, Department of Oregon, but that isn't the name of the American Legion. Right? This is a fictitious name made up using the name of the American Legion. And they do this to you and me all the time also, right? If you go and look at a warranty deed, security deed, grant deed, whatever you call it for your property, and look at the name of the grantee, which would be you, right? They'd put something like, for me, they put Robert A. Rutluski, single man. Right? Well, that really isn't my name, so that isn't me, but it's a thing that was created using parts of my name. So they replaced my person with the thing. They did the same thing here. This should be an artificial person, the American Legion, but by putting a comma and then Department of Oregon afterwards, they turned it into a thing. And in fact, they say so. In it, it says, right, it used to be the American Legion until 1990. And now it's, and on that date, they started calling the American Legion, Department of Oregon. So this is no longer the entity, the entity that needs to be registered per its own charter is not being registered. And if they had done everything else right, other than that, they would be wrong. Right? Every jot and tittle. Jesus did not come to replace the law, he came to fulfill it. Well, that's what these entities need to do. We're not going to replace the law, we're just going to go fulfill it. What does the charter say? What did Congress agree to? And do what Congress said, because by Congress agreeing, they gave us all sorts of powers. Okay, so let me get these in order. Right back. Well, I really don't want to get into all these little pamphlets they put out, but here's another one, Congressionally Chartered Nonprofit Organization, Title 36 Corporations, what they are and how Congress treats them. So there's lots of research that can be done for those that really want to know all the jots and tittles. It's not for me to tell you what you need to know to convince yourself. I'm just going to give you the things that convince me. So here's the American Legion, Charter of the American Legion, National Constitution and bylaws. They put it all in one little thing. Right, United States Code Annotated, Title 36, Chapter 217, Sections the American Legion. Okay, so all of this is their own private version that they made up, but you can download the same thing, right? Public Law 105-225, August 12th, 1988. Right, and it'll have this little blue border on it, and this here means this is a certified copy. As far as the government printing office is concerned, this is a certified copy of the law. Right, as soon as you print it out, it's no longer certified, but as long as it's online and it's got this little emblem up here, it means this is the law, right? This is what they have on the books. So this is the entire act on this thing. It's 260 pages long, but they're all listed. All these different entities are listed in here, and it gives their charters and so forth. But because it's a bit easier to look at, we're just going to go back to this one. This one. to look and see what it said, right? So the American Legion is a federally chartered corporation. Well, there you go. It's a federal corporation. What are federal corporations according to... I already done. Actually, I closed it already. Yeah, what are federal corporations according to 28 U.S.C. 3002-15? They are the United States. I'm not going to argue with them. Right? The American Legion is the United States if it has its paperwork done right. Well, what is the purposes of the American Legion? To uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. That's good. Right? Promote peace and goodwill among peoples of the United States, preserve the memories and incidents of World War II, of the two world wars, and other great hostilities fought to uphold democracy. We're having all these statues and shit all tore down. Although I did see Trump came out today and said he's authorized the Department of Interior to start arresting these people. And that it's a 10-year prison sentence to be fucking with war memorials. So, to cement the ties of comradeship born of service and to consecrate the efforts of its members to mutual helpfulness and the service of their country. That's a great reason to exist, and Congress has agreed. This is why you exist, to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. Well, the Constitution requires, in the 6th article, for people to take a fucking oath of office. And the people pretending to be the government aren't doing it. This is an old version, but now I think it's pretty much anybody who's serving or has served can be in the American Legion. But what powers did they give it? Well, you can adopt a constitution, bylaws, and regulations to carry out the purpose of the corporation. What's the purpose of the corporation? Uphold and defend the Constitution. Adopt and alter a corporate seal. Establish and maintain offices. Establish state and territorial organizations. Provide guidance and leadership. Acquire, own, lease, encumber, transfer property. Publish a magazine. Right? Be a publisher. Sue and be sued. And to do any other act necessary and proper to carry out the purposes of the corporation. The corporation and its state and local subdivisions have the exclusive right to use the name the American Legion or American Legion. Right? That's the legal names of this entity. Not the American Legion, comma, Department of Oregon. No, the American Legion. There's just one American Legion. Everything else is a subdivision of it, but there's one American Legion. Political activities. Corporation shall be non-political and may not promote the candidacy of an individual seeking public office. Here's the one we're not doing. Service or process. As a condition to exercise any power or privilege granted by this chapter, the corporation shall file with the Secretary of State or other designated official of each state the name and address of an agent in the state whom legal process or demands against the corporation may be served. Now, this doesn't even have to be the corporation itself. You can hire that shit out. Just get a hold of a service process server corporation like CT something or other. They do all these big corporations and stuff. I mean, any corporation has to have a registered agent. So there's businesses that offer that service. Hire one, tell them this is what you want them to do, and they'll make sure it's done right. Check it off the box then. And then no later than January 1st of each year, the corporation shall submit a report to Congress of the activities of the corporation during the prior calendar year. The report may not be printed as a public document. The report may not be printed as a public document, which means I shouldn't be able to go to anybody's website and get a copy. Right? It's internal use. So, wanting to know about that, just the other day, I said, I wrote to the American Legion and said, where can I find the yearly reports sent to Congress in accordance with Section 10101 of Title 36 United States Code pertaining to the required yearly audit? Which answered, you can find our reports to Congress and much more in our digital archives at this thing here. If we go there, we will see, all right, annual report to Congress. Okay, so I downloaded a copy. I didn't look at this, so let me look real quick. How long is this going to take to open? No, these are just annual reports. I should go back and look at a really old one and compare it to a really new one. But I can just show you what they look like. So I did this, right? And here is what I downloaded, which again is a certified copy, right? This got the GPO border on it. And it talked about, let me put in audit, A-U-D-I-T, audit. All right, a financial statement and independent audit of the American Legion, right? The American Legion and proceedings of the 100th Annual National Convention of the American Legion held in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Bet you won't be there again. From August 24th to 30th, 2018, and a report on the organization's activities for the year preceding the convention. That all sounds good. Now let's go look and see what they did. Which is way down here at the bottom. Right, independent auditors report. Where it said, members of the National Finance Commission, the American Legion National Headquarters. Right? So this isn't written to the American Legion, it's written to members of the National Finance Commission. But it says, we have audited the accompanying consolidated financial statements of the American Legion National Headquarters. Legion. That's not the name of the American Legion. This isn't an audit of the American Legion. It's an audit of the American Legion National Headquarters, called the Legion. So, it's a simulated legal process under color of law that's a counterfeit independent auditor's report. It's been put in there to make us think that they're doing what they're supposed to do. Now, again, I'm not blaming the veterans that run for office, get the office, and so forth, because they're getting changed out every year. This is being done by the headquarters staff, right? The clerks, the ones that stay there. They're not doing this right. So the guy who is now the commander, the national commander, needs to order them to do it right. Period. Right? Because if you were to call this Crow Horwath LLP and say, hey, who did you audit? And, they'd say, well, we ordered the American Legion National Headquarters. You say, well, is that the legal name of the entity that you audited? Right? They have to tell you yes. Well, I say, well, that's what we were given. I mean, that's when we're going to start running away, right? Because they'll be called on their participation. Now, the other thing is, all these other pages in this book have a page number at the top, except the page for the audit. And the page just before it, which was blank. So there's should be 2 pages in here that aren't, 2 pages in here that aren't, because here's 329. There's no 330. This should be 331. Let me go to 332. Right? So this is a certified copy proving that there's fraud going on. Somebody needs to answer for it. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed now, immediately, just as soon as humanly possible. And all of the, whatever it takes to register with all the Secretary of States, because, each state has its own department, but they're all the American Legion, is what needs to happen. It doesn't sound that difficult to do, right? It's a 1, 2, 3, but try to get them to do it, because they don't want to listen to me. All right, hang on again. Let me just really quickly, let's read the preamble of the Constitution of the American Legion. For God and country, we associate ourselves together for the following purposes: to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States, to maintain law and order, to foster and perpetuate a 100% Americanism, to preserve the memories and incidents of our associations in the Great Wars, to inculcate a sense of individual obligation to the community, state, and nation, to combat the autocracy of both the classes and the masses, to make right the master of might, to promote peace and goodwill on earth, to safeguard and transmit to posterity the principles of justice, freedom, and democracy, to consecrate and sanctify our comradeship by our devotion to mutual helpfulness. And Congress agreed. They acknowledged this is why you're here. So why is the United States the way it is? Because the American Legion ain't doing their job. It's just not the American Legion. It's all these entities. It's all our fault. It's the veterans' fault. I take my blame. It's my fault. I haven't done it. Right? But I'm willing to, do it right. That's all. Just do what they said. The national headquarters of the American Legion shall be located at the site of the Indiana War Memorial in the city of Indianapolis, Indiana. Well, now I should be able to go to Indianapolis or go to Indiana, look them up and say, well, where's the American Legion registered? And guess what? They're not. They may have a national headquarters registered, but it's not the American Legion. I mean, they haven't made the letters different here to show this is, the national headquarters is not the same as the American Legion. This is the thing. This right here is what has to be in the box to say this is the name of the entity, and now who is its registered agent is up to the American Legion. They can pick whoever they want to. All right, just go find a corporation that offers to be a registered agent and put them to work. Right here. Let's see how hard this would be to do. Registered agent. Registered agent services available in all 50 states. There you are. Pick one. Tell them who you are. Make sure they do it right. If they don't do it right, well, we can blame them. Okay, hang on again. Just a second. So in Title 36, they have one particular section here. This Part A, General, Chapter 101, 10101, Audits, which applies to all of the entities except as otherwise provided, and what they need to do with their financial statements and so forth. And, it applies to all of them. So, and then it goes into Part B, organizations, and this is where the 90 plus are listed. And we looked at the American Legion, but let's look at the Reserve Officers Association of the United States. See what they're supposed to do, can do. All right, there's the name, Reserve Officers Association of the United States. That's the proper name. Anything else is not the federally chartered corporation, right? This is the point. This is the thing that was federally chartered, Reserve Officers Association of the United States. Nothing else. No additions, no commas, nothing else, no abbreviations. Just the way you see it there. And that would go for any of them. Who can be a member, who the governing body is, what its powers are. Exclusive right to the name, restrictions, headquarters, records inspection, service of process. Right? Corporation shall have a designated agent in the District of Columbia to receive service of process for the corporation. Now, this entity, they're right across the street from the frickin' Capitol building. They're like attached to the Methodist building, which is right across the street from the Supreme Court. Shares the same block on the same side of the road as the Supreme Court. It's in the same lot. So, right, then retired enlisted. We got one too. Look at that. Uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. The corporation has only the powers provided by its bylaws and articles of incorporation filed in each state in which it is incorporated. Right? So in this case, their powers are whatever they put in their freaking bylaws and articles of incorporation and then properly file them in the state. We're not doing it. So, as soon as we do, it could be a whole new world in America. That's all I'm trying to say. And it could happen as quick as somebody with some firepower behind him calling up the national commander of the American Legion, explain to him the law and tell him to do it. I'm sure the guy would. Okay, again, 1 second. Okay, so in my letter, I had mentioned that the first law passed, 1 Stat 23, by the first Congress after ratification of the Constitution specifically mandated the oath that satisfies Article 6, who it applies to, the responsibility of ensuring. Let's go look at it. All right, Act of the First Congress of the United States, passed at the first session, which was begun and held in the city of New York, Wednesday, March 4th, 1789. President George Washington, President, John Adams, Vice President, and President of the Senate, and Frederick Augustus Muhlenberg, Speaker of the House. Those three people passed this statute, in which it said the oath or affirmation required by the 6th article of the Constitution of the United States shall be administered in the form following, to wit, I state your name, do solemnly swear or affirm, as the case may be, that I will support the Constitution of the United States. There you go. Right? And the AB has to be your full legal name because that's what identifies you. Can't use a nickname, can't use a middle initial name, got to use your identification name. Call it the true name if you want to. That's the only name that identifies you for legal purposes. Again, have to do it previous to entering on any other business. Right? And that the members of the several state legislatures, all executive and judicial officers of the several states, chosen or appointed, or who shall be chosen or appointed, right? They have to do it. Members of the several state legislatures, all executive and judicial branches of the several states who have been or chosen or appointed, after the first day of August shall, before they proceed to execute the duties of their respective offices, take the foregoing oath or affirmation, which shall be administered by persons who, by law of the state, shall be authorized to administer the oath of office. And the person or persons so administering the oath, hereby required to be taken, shall cause a record or certificate to be made, in the same manner as by law or the state he or they shall be directed to record or certify the oath of office. Yada, yada, yada. Keep in mind that the military has notaries, or persons that have the power of a state notary. So they can do it. That all officers appointed under the authority of the United States, they'll have to take this oath. And such officers shall incur the same penalties in case of failure as shall be imposed by law in case of failure in taking their respective oath of office, right? If they don't file it. Well, what would that be? It would mean you're unqualified for the office and you can't exercise any of the powers of the office. Now, in here, they also have another oath, right? This is the oath that the Secretary of the Senate and the Clerk of the House of Representatives are supposed to take, right? I state your name, Secretary of Senate or Clerk, as the case may be, of the United States of America. Everywhere else it was United States, and now it's United States of America. Right? United States of America. But up here, right? Constitution of the United States. Constitution of the United States. Acts of the First Congress of the United States. So, that's what they had to do. Now, sometime after, they took that same oath and they codified it into the United States Code in Title 4, seat of government, and the states. As Section 101, oath by members of legislature and officers, where it says every member of a state legislature and every executive or judicial officer of a state shall, before he proceeds to execute the duties of his office, take an oath in the following form. To wit, I state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. Right? So how do you know what oath we're talking about? Because they're going to say, well, I took an oath. Right? But did you take this oath? Because this one has their name immediately after the word I. And if we go look at what the usurper claiming to be the governor of the state of Michigan took, right? It says I, and it doesn't have state your name. It doesn't have the right words. So this is not that oath, right? If she had to take this oath because the Constitution of Michigan said to do it, that's fine. But federal law said you still have to take this other oath, and federal law trumps state law. So the federal government says you need to take this oath before you can act as an officer in your state. And it's not being done. The governor didn't do it. Judges don't do it. I can show you all sorts of oaths. In fact, I have in previous videos. I might stop for a second to go find some more to show you. Right? They're not taking this oath. And if they didn't take this oath, then they don't have any authority in the United States. Rod Class has had it proved to him, well, not proved to him, he had it told to him in court that, there aren't any state officers. They're all private contractors. If you don't know who Rod Class is, he used to do a lot of, I haven't heard from Rod in a long time, seen him even online, but, he did a lot of research back in the day on what the hell's going on. And he finally got courts to admit, well, actually, they're private contractors. Right? So who are they contracting with? Well, because the Lieber Code said, right, President Lincoln declares martial law 1861. Right? Now, it got ratified in 1863, but he first declared in 1861. And he did it in the District of Columbia, which is the nation's capital. So when he declared martial law, he was declaring martial law over the United States, which is, everything. One nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Where when the states declare martial law, emergency orders, whatever, in fact, you don't need to declare it. This is the thing. It doesn't even need to be declared. When they go into martial law, it only applies to their state. Well, now all the state offices are vacant because nobody's taken this oath. So they were put under martial law, or whatever. I don't even know what happened to the state, to be quite honest, because none of these people are in the state. They're just pretending to be the state. That's the simplest answer. They're just usurpers. Right? They're committing acts of terrorism. But what it says in the Lieber Code, which is the instructions for the government of armies of the United States. Who? Of the United, not the United States of America, of the United States in the field. And who do we say the United States is, according to 28 U.S.C. 3002, Section 15? Well, that'd be a federal corporation. It says, let's read number 2 first, that martial law does not cease during the hostile occupation, except by special proclamation ordered by the Commander-in-Chief, or by a special mention in a treaty of peace concluding the war. When the occupation of the place and territory continues beyond the conclusion of peace as one of the conditions of the same. Well, how do you know that they're there? That the occupation still is going on? The symbol is the gold fringe flag. The gold fringe flag is an army style flag. It's a military flag. Its use, display, size, description, everything is listed in an Army regulation, which is AR 840-10, Army Regulation 840-10, Chapter 2, Section 3. I'll tell you everything you need to know about a gold fringe flag. And it says a gold fringe flag, I'm paraphrasing now, is displayed in military courtrooms. It doesn't make any any condition whatsoever for it to be used in a civilian courtroom. And yet when you go to court, there's gold fringe flags in them. Now, it's only supposed to be in military, so the other places it can be are military offices. And when you go into, like a county commissioner's meeting, well, there's a freaking gold fringe flag. It's a military office. Right? These are all contractors or whatever working through the military, or that's a war trophy, and all these other entities are the martial law of the enemy being imposed on us in the United States. And so we need to, crush the rebellion. And we can do that by using the military. Because a properly formed patriotic association, society of persons, has the authority to be the United States. So said the Congress. Now, here's another problem. In fact, I was for a year a member of the American Legion, but they don't make provisions for you to use your full legal name. They want you to use a middle initial on their fucking paperwork. Never use a middle initial. You don't have a middle name. You have a given name. Mine's Robert Allen. Right? First name box, Robert Allen. Never have a middle name. Never have a middle initial. Right? Now, if they have boxes and they say last name, I put Rutluski in there. Next one, first name, I'll put in Robert Allen. But if they have a line where it says name and below it says in parentheses first, middle, last, last, first, middle, they want you to put it backwards. I don't do that. I put Robert Allen Rutluski because the line said to put my name on it. And what's below it in parentheses, I don't really care. So that's just, this is the fucking bullshit stuff they've done to muddy the waters and cloud the titles and so forth. But the simplest one for us to fix is just to get these entities to properly register themselves. So let's look at Article 1, right? Because the presence of a hostile army proclaims its martial law. Well, that's what the flag is. It's a symbol of the presence of the army. A place, district, or country occupied by the enemy stands in consequence of that occupation under the martial law of the invading or occupying army. Right? Two different ones, invading or occupying. Whether any proclamation declaring martial law or public warning to the inhabitants has been issued or not. Martial law is the immediate and direct effect and consequences of occupation or conquest. So there's two things going on. The United States is occupying, but the enemies, foreign and domestic, are invading. So the invaders are impersonating our government. And I'll show you what I mean in just a second. Let's go look at a few more oaths of office and we'll be done. So hang on just a second. Lord knows I've shown this in a lot of videos, but I'm going to keep showing it. This is the congressional record for the House from January 17, 2019, where after they had adjourned for the day, somebody acted like they're going to slip in this oath of office, members, resident, commissioner, and delegates. Excuse me. And they're going to say that they're going to take this particular oath to satisfy the 6th article of the Constitution. Yeah, in that oath it says, so help me God, which immediately makes it unconstitutional because that's a religious test. Right? And it says I, A, B, so they're supposed to put their name in there. Well, what name do they use? Right? It's already unconstitutional. What else happened? And so all this stuff up here, if you were to get into this deeper and try to understand what they're doing, this is all, there is no act from May 13th, 1884, that's 23 Stat 22, right? 23 Stat, statutes at large, doesn't go with 1884. It goes with sometime earlier in the century. But for the AB, then, here's the names they were putting in, right? Here's somebody using the middle initial. Here's somebody using the middle initial. Here's somebody using a nickname. Right? Here's somebody using a nickname. They're putting these names in the AB spot on an oath. Well, that's not their identity. That makes these oaths, of no value. So after they did all this, right, then they went and took another oath so they can get classified information using fictitious names with middle initials and so forth. So not only didn't they qualify to become a member of the legislature the way that they were supposed to, now that they're unqualified, they're just going to go steal state secrets. Well, that makes them a fucking spy. Right? So from Nancy Pelosi to pick your poison, they're all in here. Right? So this is just for the House of Representatives. I can't find the exact same thing for the Senate, but, I have tried to look at their oaths, which are supposed to have been a copy sent to like the National Archives on behalf of the clerk or something like that, but they won't let you look at them. They say you can't see them for 30 years, 30 years before you can see the oaths. Well, I think that's a little bit fishy, don't you? So there is nobody in Congress, right? If the American Legion would get their shit together and get qualified, they could call in the military to go arrest all these fucktards and kick them out of the Capitol. Because they're all usurpers, traitors, spies, saboteurs. Take your pick. Here's the problem with Donald J. Trump. Right here's Donald J. Trump. He says he's the president of the United States of America. Well, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for the president of the United States. Right? George Washington, president. United States. Didn't say United States of America. Donald J. Trump. See, J's not his middle name. His middle name is John. Well, Donald J. Trump pretended to make Allison, middle initial somebody, United States Circuit Judge for the 10th Circuit. But, that didn't happen. Donald J. Trump can't do anything for the United States. Now, United States of America, it does exist. That is a dominion of King George III. It's in the Treaty of Peace, 1783. That's what he's claiming, right? It's not the same as the United States of America, which was created under the Articles of Confederation. It's United States of America, which it existed. That's what King George called it before the colonies called themselves the colonies. He called it the United States of America. So this is just all the deception that we've been put under our whole lives. And, right, so my point is, none of these people here are have a commission as a judicial branch officer. This is a simulation of a commission of a judicial branch officer. These people are not Article 3 judges because the judicial branch is vacant. Nobody's taking a proper oath of office. Now, they're taking an oath of office, right? But it's not the oath under the Constitution. So they don't have any authority under the Constitution. So I don't know what to call them. Here's the oath that officers of the military are supposed to take. Right? And, right? It's got "So help me God" in it. But at least they do put their first name, middle name, last name. And I could say, because this style here is different, because I don't believe if we went to find, hell would I do with that? Then it has a semicolon here, right? And then they got "So help me God." So it's like that. Maybe they've taken theirs out of the oath. But nevertheless, this isn't the oath that satisfies the 6th article, the Constitution. They might have to take this oath also, but they still have to take the oath that's in the 6th article. Ain't been done. Here's the what's supposed to be an appointment affidavit. This is the, it's a standard form that's put out by the U.S. Office of Personnel Management. I think it's the SF, or Standard Form 61. Right? But it doesn't say it's an oath of office. It's appointment affidavits for these people. So these aren't oaths of office. They're affidavits. And then I, Jerome Powell, do solemnly swear or affirm that. And then afterwards it starts, well, they bifurcated the oath of office they were going to take. Right? See, after the word I, it's supposed to say, will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. So this is a bifurcated oath, and these other ones are affidavits. So this is, again, it's a simulation of doing something, but it wasn't done right. And so these people don't have any authority under the Constitution. And here's some other ones. So here's some for the state, right? This doesn't satisfy 4 USC, right? 4 USC says IAB. And this one doesn't say IAB, so right, maybe you have to take this oath, Lisa, but where's the one for the 4th? For Title IV, right? Because she's claiming to be the Kent County Clerk. Well, county clerks, that office is created under the state constitution. So that make her a state officer by the Constitution. Same with this. They got all sorts of errors. This woman I know has a middle name. She didn't use it. All this shit here isn't supposed to be in even if this was supposed to be the oath for the Michigan Constitution, it still doesn't have the right terms or verbiage. Right? Nowhere in there does it say to put in the county of Kent, state of Michigan. I thought this was Kent County, Michigan. Well, how did it become county of Kent, state of Michigan? Right? None of that has to be in their oath. Same here, right? This is a prosecutor and a county prosecutor in Michigan who doesn't have a proper oath, yet he can put people in prison. Well, he can't do it legally, but he's doing it by using people with guns who don't have an oath of office either. So all this shit can go away just as soon as the properly federally chartered corporations get their paperwork right. All right, this is supposed to be one for a probate judge. Guy using the middle initial. That's not good. Yeah. Sworn to by a guy using the middle initial with the seal that simulates the seal of the state of Michigan, except the moose is looking over its back instead of looking at the shield. So, yeah, there's all sorts of errors. It goes on and on and on, right? Kathleen Kitty Teague. Right? She's supposed to be a judge of a superior court. I don't fucking think so. Right? Done by a governor using the middle initial and attested by a Secretary of State that probably has a middle name. It's probably Thaddeus, not Tad. Or Todd. I don't know. It just doesn't seem right to me. We could go look them up, right? Not using a full legal name. So, yeah, there's all sorts of problems in America, in the United States, that could be taken care of if the patriotic associations had their paperwork correctly done. So, hang on just a second. And if you're asking yourself, how do we get ourselves into this mess, you only need to go to look at things like 105 Stat 44, Public Law 102.14 of the 102nd Congress, by joint resolution, signed into law by Bush Sr., whereas Congress recognizes the historical tradition of ethical values and principles, which are the basis of civilized society and upon which our great nation was founded, whereas these ethical values and principles have been the bedrock of society from the dawn of civilization, when they were known as the 7 Noahide Laws. We're being governed by the 7 Noahide Laws, according to the Congress, not by the Constitution, by the 7 Noahide Laws, which is the basis of Talmudic law. One of those laws is to have courts of justice. But another law is, the people that blaspheme God are to be beheaded. Well, to a Jew, me saying that Jesus is God is blaspheming God, so I would be beheaded under Noahide laws. All right, but this is a public law right here. So these courts where you're going into that have black robe priests, they're really ecclesiastic judges. They're not judges of the state because, well, they don't have a proper oath of office. So who the hell are they? Well, they're ecclesiastic judges under the Noahide laws. And I got to think, I guess Pope Francis brought this up. Mercy. All right, I think one of the things you could do in a Noahide law court is go in and petition for mercy. Right? Forget everything you thought about the law. Just petition for mercy. Say I'm a Christian. I petition for mercy. Right? I'm not familiar with the Noahide laws. I petition for mercy. Right? You don't have a proper oath of office, Judge, so I petition for mercy because in my jurisdiction, according to 4 USC 101, you have to have taken this particular oath and show it to them. See, here's the oath. If you don't have it, I'm not in your jurisdiction. I petition for mercy. Let me show you a couple of definitions real quick. That would be one other good thing to look at. So as I remember, one of the things that they had told Rod Class was that they weren't, because Rod was saying that they were, as I remember, Rod was saying that they were private contractors. In one of his cases, he was told, no, they're public officials. Didn't say public officers, right? An officer, that's an office under the Constitution. But this is an official. An official is an ecclesiastic judge appointed by a bishop, chapter, archdeacon, etc., with the charge of spiritual jurisdiction. All right, so if you're before a public official, then you're before an ecclesiastic judge. And that's why I say the black robe priests are, right? That's who they are. Now, if they're an ecclesiastic judge, then as it turns out, they have, this is in Bouvier's Law Dictionary, right? Mercy is a practice. To be in mercy signifies to be liable to punishment at the discretion of the judge. Mercy in criminal law, the total or partial remission of a punishment to which a convict is subject. When the whole punishment is remitted, it is called a pardon. When only part of the punishment is remitted, it is frequently a conditional pardon. Or before sentence is called clemency or mercy. Right? So petition for mercy. Say, I wasn't familiar with the Noahide laws. Right? Again, I'm going to say, look, if you don't have an oath under 4 USC 101, you don't have any authority. For myself as a veteran, I'm going to say, if you're not a court-martial court, you don't have any authority. So that's all sideshow stuff, right? Really, that's not what this video was about. This video was mainly about, I wanted to post this letter, that what we need to do is we need to get these patriotic societies properly construed, right? Get all their paperwork in order. So I'll take any help I can get on that, and if you can do it on your own, please do, and tell me you got it done, right? That'd even be better. Just tell me where it is. So I'm hoping to hear from somebody on this that can help push it along. I'm going to leave it there for today. You all have a great day, and let's keep trying. See you.